It's easier to say, don't worry, there'll never be a problem, and I'll protect status quo, even though status quo is going to result in a 20 to 24% benefit cut. So what we need is people in Washington to be honest with the American people.
You're watching Restoring America, where we shine a light on the fundamental values of this country and all the reasons why they're worth saving. This week, we're going to talk about a subject that sends most policymakers running for the hills: Social Security. I'm Kaylee McGee-White, and this is Restoring America. The U.S. spends more on its entitlement programs, including Social Security and Medicare, than on anything else. Last year, these funds accounted for 50% of all federal spending. That's up from about 30% in 1960. This is unsustainable. The Social Security trustees estimate the fund will be insolvent by 2035. And if that happens, the vast majority of retirees will see their benefits cut, or American taxpayers will be slapped with tax hikes to make up the difference. Neither option is acceptable. Congress has the power to stop this disaster before it starts. But few in Washington, D.C. are willing to broach the topic, let alone propose a solution to it. My guest today is one of the very few boldly advocating Social Security reform, because he recognizes what few policymakers seem to understand these days: that the U.S. can't keep printing money to get out of its financial problems, or keep asking the American people to sacrifice more of their hard-earned dollars to fix their government's mistakes. But before we get to him, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. And for more, head to washingtonexaminer.com. With me today is Senator Bill Cassidy, a senator from Louisiana and a member of the Health, Education, Pensions, and Labor Committee. Senator, thanks so much for being here. You wrote about Social Security reform in a recent op-ed for the Washington Examiner. Tell us what some of the implications are if Congress doesn't act on this soon.
First, let me thank the Examiner for raising the issue, because what happens is that the trust fund goes insolvent in 8 years. So we've got extra amount of money, it's supplementing what we're all paying in, but when that goes insolvent, there's no extra money, and by law, the amount going out to pay benefits has to be adjusted downward for the amount going in. There'll be a 21 to 24% benefit cut for everybody currently receiving and all those who will receive in the future. 24% potentially benefit cut for everybody receiving now and in the future. It is estimated to double the rate of poverty among the elderly. Tremendous consequences, and that occurs in 8 years.
And given these implications, why don't you think that more in Washington are more vocal about the very real threat of Social Security insolvency?
Because they don't want to take the time, and they don't want to do what the Examiner is doing, is to educate the American people as to the consequences. It's easier to say, don't worry, there'll never be a problem, and I'll protect status quo, even though status quo is going to result in a 20 to 24% benefit cut. So what we need is people in Washington to be honest with the American people. If we're not honest, there'll be that 20%, 24% benefit cut.
And one potential solution that you mentioned is what you call the big idea, which is a proposal that you've put together in a Senate working group. Explain to us what this is and how this could protect retirees and the Social Security Trust in the long run.
So our big idea is to set up a fund separate from Social Security. Here's Social Security, set up a separate investment fund. We put $1.5 trillion in it over 5 years and invest it like you would your 401k. Put it in the stock market, put it in real estate. You put safeguards so that the politicians can't touch it, but you just set it up and you let it sit there for 60 years, 70 years, and it just grows. And it grows so beautifully that you end up with enough money at the end to almost completely take care of the unfunded accrued liability and do other stuff, like, for example, repeal weapon GPO, which some of your folks will know about, to do away with the disincentive to work that's embedded in. We actually give extra benefits to some seniors. In fact, we give extra benefits so much so the actuaries say that with this big idea fund, investing like we do into the general market, and giving extra benefits to some, it'll be the most powerful anti-poverty program for the elderly since Social Security started.
So are you optimistic that some of your colleagues on either side of the aisle will come on board and support this proposal in the next few years?
So we had 7 Democrats and 7 Republicans And we also had bipartisan support on the House and had talked to the Biden White House on 4 separate occasions. We were going to present at this Congress. Then President Biden decided to start attacking Republicans on social. One of my Democratic colleagues said, we're not going to do it this year, and it died. I'm hoping that for the next Congress, there'll be a more responsible president and that we can actually get this done. That big idea doesn't raise taxes. That big idea is all about investment. And with that, and we don't raise taxes on seniors. We don't increase age of eligibility for seniors. Boom, you still get your benefits. But our big idea funds a lot of it. What's not to like?
Yeah, well, it's a subject that very few are willing to touch, but it's not going away anywhere anytime soon. So thank you very much for being with us today to talk about this. And for more breaking news, exclusive interviews, and conservative views, be sure to check out washingtonexaminer.com.